Good to go? Good. All right. So hi everybody. I'm Sheree, doing the welcome this week. This is week 7 of our Shredder Adventure series. And for those of you that are joining us for the first time this week, the idea of this series is for all of you to get the chance to speak and to ask questions of different athletes. And adventurers. And we've had women who have been adventuring their whole life. We have women who are just starting out and who race competitively today, racing in college, which is pretty fantastic. Um, so really hope that you enjoy. Our speaker today is Gabby. Um, I've known Gabby for quite some time now. She, when I was coaching NICA, she was one of the fierce racers that I enjoyed cheering on from afar. Um, so most of you here are Saratoga Shredders, I believe, right, Anna? Mostly everybody Shredders today. Yeah. So we're all familiar with NICA. If you want to race bikes when you are in 6th grade, you can join a NICA team. We have the Gray Ghost team in Saratoga, and we have the Mountain Goats further south for Niskayuna and the Schenectady area. And I just want to take a second to talk about NICA and what it is, because that's where Gabby, I think it's safe to say, got started. Yeah, okay, great. So NICA stands for National Intercollegiate Cycling Association. That's a mouthful. And it's all across the nation. You can race bikes once you are in 6th grade. You can be part of a team, and you can do it throughout 6th grade all the way until you graduate. And it's really, truly an amazing, amazing thing to be a part of. Yeah, it's just great. It was just a light in my world when I became part of it and got to just meet awesome kids riding bikes and having a blast. So I am going to we're going to do a little bit of logistics right now. Anna's going to be letting some people in through the chat in the waiting room. Sorry, I'm new to Zoom. I'm more of a Google girl. So there's this waiting room in Zoom, and Anna's going to be letting people in. And this call is all about you all asking Gabby questions. She's going to give a presentation. So if you have questions, you can use the chat box. You can write them down. You could probably hold up a sticky note with your question when it's time. You can have someone at home write it down for you. However you want to convey your question, it's all good. And then Anna or myself will unmute you when it's your time to speak. So I would like to present Gabby Vides-Barry. How did I do with that? Yes.
Pretty good.
All right. She grew up racing NICA New York for a few years and then moved to Banner Elk, North Carolina for college, studying outdoor recreation management in a small school called Lee's McRae. And she loves everything about the outdoors and enjoys snowboarding, mountain biking, and camping, among other activities. And I got to say, she's a phenomenal rider, girls. Phenomenal. Like, amazing. So Gabby, can you start out with an introduction of yourself and tell us how you got involved in mountain biking while I get your presentation up?
Yeah, guys. Hey, how are you guys doing? Oh my goodness. Okay. So, oh, something happened here. Okay. So basically, I started out in NICA. As you guys know, it's 6th through 12th grade. So yeah, right there. And I joined a team called the New York Cranks. I grew up in the New York City. I don't know if you've heard of it, but there's not a lot of trails out there. But there was one that's 15 minutes away, and I joined a group over there. And ever since then, I've been racing. And, there's different things like camps, Vermont camp, and you can go over there and ride your mountain bike in Vermont for a week, or I think, what was it, a week or two. And there's awesome coaches there too. Like I met Sheree over there, and, you have a blast. Um, so when you start out, you're gonna be like sixth grade or so. You don't really have any training plans or anything like that, but after a while you can move up in categories, up to 12th grade, and you get some sort of training plan going, and you can hop on your trainer at home. I don't know if you guys have any of those, and just to get your endurance up and all of that fun stuff. And it's a load of fun. You meet so many new people and so many great coaches and all that. And there's grit, obviously, which is a part of, what you guys are pretty much a part of, just empowering, young girls and women to become a part of the sport. And next slide. And so then from there, I went to college cycling, and it's a really small school in North Carolina, which is down south. And there's a bunch of varsity programs. So you can go to college out west and maybe like Colorado, or down south where I am in North Carolina. And or there's clubs where they don't really take it as seriously, and you just can ride your bike for fun if that's what you're into and just have a great time. Or you can do some, racing. And there's all sorts of types of racing that maybe you've never heard of. Um, in the fall, usually, yeah, right there, here. So there's road cycling, cyclocross, and enduro, downhill, cross country, which is what's NICA's main focus is cross country. But when you get to college, there's cross country, there's short track, which is like a shorter version of cross country. There's downhill, where you go down, where you start on the top of a mountain and you just go down. There's a dual slalom, which is in the bottom left corner, where you're going head to head with somebody and you guys are just racing each other down this little line. You can go back a slide. Let's see. Yeah, there's also,
Can I interrupt you, Gabby?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are those are each of those disciplines offered in NICA racing? It's not just cross country mountain biking?
NICA is just cross country, but that's what's great about collegiate cycling, that it gives you a lot more to work on. You have all sorts of things, and it's year long. Whereas NICA, I think, is, at least in New York, it's one season. I think it's the spring season around March, April. So yeah, and then let's see, where's the other slide? Oh yeah, so obviously there's limitations and what to expect. So all across the country there's different NICA leagues, and especially out west in California, they have a really big league compared to New York. So there's a lot of racers. You can't even imagine the amount of racers that are coming into collegiate cycling from NICA. Like you guys have talked to Kate Courtney the other week. She was in NICA. I think she was in California racing. So big names like that come from NICA, which is pretty cool. She's got a bunch of winning streaks so far. So that's the difference between other states. And weather permitting, like if if it's raining right now, it's really, really cold. It's like 10 degrees out here, and there's not a lot of riding. So that's when you get on your trainer and you go inside, and you have those sort of training plans that your coach gives you. It's a little bit different from NICA. It's a little bit, a little bit more extreme, but still a lot of fun. And you right now, as you're young, sixth grade or whatever, middle school, a lot of the time it's really good to just put yourself out there, get on these social rides with the shredders, and do some group rides, because that's where you meet all your friends and all the people in your community, and get really involved in that way. And then from there you can kind of make your decision on what to do, and if you want to go to college and race. Let's see if there's another slide maybe. So yeah, just finding a college that's right for you. It might be in a few years, you're not really thinking about it yet because you're still looking at maybe high schools. But in college, we get to travel to races, which is really fun. And you just go with your team, and you go on a bus and you have a great time and you race. And during the fall, we have 4 different sorts of disciplines, which I was talking about earlier. We have cross country, short track, some team relays, downhilling, and yeah, that's about it. I don't know if you guys have any questions about that. That's kind of a lot to take in.
Thanks, Gabby. That was an awesome introduction to, we haven't really talked about, I don't think in any of the conversations we've talked about what college cycling is like. And I didn't realize that there were so many different disciplines, because the girls have talked to cyclocross athletes and track cyclists now and cross-country mountain bikers in this series. So they know a little bit about some of those sports, but I didn't realize that those were offered at the college level. So that is really cool to hear. Can you tell us a little bit about the other sports that you're into besides cycling?
So where I live, it's in the mountains. So we have all different types of sports here. You can, last year I was a dual sport athlete. So they actually give you money to ride, or I was running, or to run. So you get scholarships. So, you know, depending on your level or whatever, they'll give you a certain amount of money to do what you love to do, go outside and ride and run, or if you like soccer, to go and play soccer, which is really awesome. And you know, there's a lot of mountains to, you know, hike. There's a lot of hiking around here, and there's trails on the campus, so we can just go outside right now and go ride some trails. It's really cool. A lot of people do, you know, camping and backpacking, so when you have like time on the weekends, that's kind of a fun thing to do. Yeah, that's about it.
And do you find that, so you're a dual sport athlete in the college arena and quite competitive, it sounds like, in track and mountain biking. Do you find there's a lot of transferable skills between those two sports, and that the other sport helps you in the opposite sport, definitely, if you know what I mean?
So this year I'm actually just focusing on cycling, but that's a decision that you can make. Basically, if you just want to focus on one sport, but definitely I still run, and it definitely helps with endurance and just being able to race, you know, race your bike fast. And, you know, any other sport that you do will usually help with the other, which is always a plus.
Yeah, that's good to hear at your level too, because I feel like I say that a lot to the shredders, right? We're always saying, like, I don't want you to just be mountain biking. At this age, I want you to be doing as many sports as possible, right? And I feel like sometimes even at the high school level, never mind the college level, that everybody's really pigeonholed into one sport and used to doing just that one direction that your body's used to going, right? So it's nice to hear that you can be successful and enjoy still multiple sports at a college level, and that's actually encouraged, and that they're willing to support you in both of those sports at the college level. Is that pretty common at your?
It's pretty common, I guess so.
Cool. Yeah. Very cool. Zoe, you had a question.
What state did you start mountain biking in?
Oh yes, so I started in New York, like you guys. There wasn't, where I live, it's kind of it's a little bit different from where you live. You live upstate from me, so there's not many trails and stuff there, which is why I moved down south. You know, there's a lot more big roads for road riding, and there's trails right on campus, which is, it's a lot more accessible than in New York City. It's kind of, I would say it's a little bit dangerous too, just riding outside, maybe on the streets. So it depends on that. You know, you don't want to put yourself in danger just to ride your bike. You want to always maintain some sort of level of safety, you know.
Cool. Lily, could you unmute yourself? You had a question.
So with all of the different types of riding you do, what is the most enjoyable type of riding for you?
That's a good question. It's a hard one. Let's see. I think it changes every season. You know, because there's so many, there's always something to do. Right now I really like road, because, you know, you're kind of just outside, and you have a lot of people, all your friends are there, and you can kind of talk to them while you're riding on the road. Whereas in mountain biking, sometimes, you know, you're by yourself, and it's kind of a little bit difficult to, you know, talk to other people. But racing wise, I would say downhill is really fun, which is when you go, down the mountain, and they time how long it takes you to get from, like point A to point B. It's just, there's a lot of thrill there. Yeah, there's a lot of thrill.
Can you tell us a little bit more about downhill? Sorry, Lily, to interrupt, but while we're on this subject, can you tell us a little bit more about downhill? Because we haven't had any speakers tell us about downhill yet. So I'd love to hear like the different sort of bike that you have, the gear that you wear, and again, the fact that it's just downhill and what happens, how do you get uphill, for example?
Okay. So around here, there's 2 bike parks. So basically you take a lift, kind of like if you go skiing. I don't know if you guys go skiing a lot. But you take the lift up and you put your bike on, and then you just go down the mountain. You take whatever trails available. Gear wise, you need a full face helmet. So usually, when you're cross country riding, you have a little helmet, but this one goes like around your whole head, so that just in case, which is, not all the time, this won't happen to you, but just in case you hit something with your head, it's not going to do anything because you have the whole protection. And then there's other things too. You can put, your elbow pads, like, if you're skateboarding and you have those sort of like elbow pads and knee pads, it's kind of like the same thing. And that's the closest thing I can think of to how to explain it. And let's see. The type of bike is really different too. It's much heavier because you're not riding it up, because sometimes, it's a lot of work to ride a bike up. You're only riding it down, so it weighs about 30 pounds, and it's very stable. It keeps you, and you don't, sometimes you can clip in. I don't know if you guys use clip-in shoes, but it depends on your style of riding. If it's easier, you're beginning, you might want to just put some regular flat shoes on, like a pair of Vans or 510s, and put them on flat pedals, or depends on your level, really, what you're comfortable with.
That's awesome. I'm watching Dee's face right now, and she's she's a little bit concerned about how you're describing the sport.
No, it was right on. It's, I support it.
Yeah. But it's really cool to hear. And to Lily's point, like, so Lily is a great example of this. So Lily has a road bike, she has a cyclocross bike, she has a mountain bike, and she really enjoys riding and racing in all 3 of those disciplines already at the age of 10, right, Lily? Are you 10? And so for her to hear that she can carry on and do all of those different sports all the way through college is really cool. And there are even more. You could even have a downhill bike too, Lily.
That's the next on the list.
Yeah.
How many times?
So Max has a question too. When she comes, do you want me to ask? Okay, so Max would like to know how many different sorts of bike racing disciplines are there, like the different types of cycling? That's a great question. Gosh, can you list them all, Gabby?
Okay, let's see. So with the fall season, it's mountain bikes. So it's going to be cross country, short track, dual slalom, downhill, and then between fall and spring, so about winter time, when it's all rainy and muddy, it's cyclocross season. And then during the spring, when it gets a lot warmer, that's road biking. So you have road biking, which is about like, maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours on your bike for a race. And then the same thing on your road bike, there's a crit, which is a shorter version where you kind of go like, if like track and field, like it's kind of like an indoor track almost, like just kind of like you're going around and around in the circle. That's like, 30 minutes to an hour. And then there's time trial, which is just you against the clock. So nobody else is around you. And you're just from point A to point B, you're trying to get the time. And then there's team TTT, which is team time trial. And it's the same thing, except it's about a group of 4 people and you guys are rotating the entire way to try to get the fastest time against all those teams. So I guess like maybe 10 disciplines or so.
Whoa. And that's just in college. Those are all offered by how big is your cycling team?
Right now I think we're about 38 people. We're supposed to increase to like 55 or 60 by next fall. Yeah.
That's fantastic. What division is your school?
So it's a D2 school, Division 2 for all around for everything except for cycling. The last I heard, it was 7 varsity schools across the nation, but I mean, now it's apparently like 22. I'm not exactly sure about that, but yeah. So there's at least 7 varsity like teams that will give you money and let you ride all the disciplines in the nation. But there's also clubs, so you can join a club, but the only difference is just what races you'll do, if you'll have to pay for them, and you might not get a scholarship through it.
And are you mostly traveling just in North Carolina schools, or are you traveling across the country to all of those places?
Yeah, so mostly we have kind of how NICA is NICA New York, or each league has their own state. We have a conference, so it's all the schools in the Southeast. So it'll be, we'll go to Tennessee, we'll stay in North Carolina, we'll go to Georgia Tech, and basically all the surrounding states in the South. So maybe like 4 different states we'll travel to in just the fall, usually. Mm-hmm.
And Sophie has a question.
Cool.
You want to unmute yourself, Anne Sophie?
What type of things do you study in school?
Oh, that's a good question. So there's a lot of different options, but I recently switched to ORM. It's called Outdoor Recreation Management. It's really fun, actually. Basically, you have all sorts of basic classes and like certification classes. So in your basic classes, you'll learn about, technical skills, how to build fires, what to pack in your backpack for, backcountry hiking or skiing, things like that. And then when you get older, or like in the upperclassmen, they'll study certification classes. So you can learn to, let's say, teach people how to ski, like an instructor course. And we also have like an adaptability course. So people, who maybe are like disabled, or, aren't able to do the things that we can do because, they're maybe paralyzed from the waist down or something, they can still have fun. And they have a instructor course on how to help them get down the mountain, which is really sick. Yeah, there's a bunch of different certifications, rock climbing certifications. So basically after school, after college, I mean, you can go and, be a ski instructor, a raft guide, or, help people who want to adventure, but, are disabled, help them to, to do what they love to do too,
It's really cool to hear that there's those sorts of courses available at a college level too. And these weekly sessions that we've had have not just been awesome athletes, but also incredible adventurers. And to have the ability and the knowledge when you're going into the woods, like you will have after coming out of this course, is really cool to feel like empowered and safe by being in there, and know your I'm sure there's all sorts of first aid courses and those sorts of things that you need to take to be able to survive in the woods. So that's really cool. And next week's speaker, actually, she is a winter 46er, and she camps overnight in the Adirondacks, and she leads a lot of the winter camping trips up there. So she's going to be talking to us about what it's like how to prepare for those winter camping trips. And yeah, so that's quite relevant to what you're studying, it sounds like. You're right. Yep. Max's dad and my brother and his friend did the Adirondack peaks. They were both turning 40 this year, and they tried to do 40 peaks in 6 days. I think they managed 32, which was pretty good. So anyway, Lily, I think you have another question. You unmute yourself.
What's your favorite piece of gear to bike with?
Oh, like my favorite bike, or what do I like to carry, like snacks?
Like anything.
Okay.
Anything bike related.
Let's see. I definitely, right now I really like my road bike. It's lighter than all the other bikes, so it's just a lot easier to pedal with. My favorite gear, I would say, let's see, for snacks, I don't know. Anything really. I get really hungry. So Maybe like a Cliff Bar, or one of those like the goo, not the goos, the blocks. Those are really great because they taste so good, and you always need some energy when you're riding. So it's a really good idea to always carry stuff with you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry,
And
that's
then there's a question from Cameron. Do you want to ask your question because it's quite related to this conversation?
Sure. What food do you eat after a race?
Like after a race, as opposed to what you would eat during the race.
after race, post. You definitely want like a big meal or something. Like I usually go for like a bowl of pasta or something, just to refuel everything. And beforehand, you want to eat light. So anything like those goos, those blocks, those Cliff Bars, anything like that. You don't want too much in your stomach, or else you might have like some tummy ache, and you don't want that. So, but that's really important to be able to eat before and after and know exactly what your body needs during the race or after.
Zoe's a little bit confused, and she would like to, so about college life in general, because this is, we haven't talked to another college student before. So how do you, she lives in North Carolina, right, which is a different state, so not at her parents' house, right? So where do you live, and how do you like train and go to school and live in college? Like, does it all happen in the same place, or how does that work?
Oh, okay, yeah. So at the beginning of the week, we have this thing called Training Peaks. It's like an app. I don't know if you guys heard of Strava. So it's an app kind of like that. And basically my coach, or if you get a coach, they're gonna upload what you have to do for the week. So let's say you have a 2-hour ride on Tuesday, then you have to plan for that, or you have a recovery ride on Monday. And so you go to this, for me, I go to school in the morning to the afternoon. And when those classes are over, then I go riding. And then, I eat my lunch and I eat my dinner because I'm hungry after my ride. That's typically the day for me. Just go to classes in the morning, ride, study, eat.
Pretty good life, huh?
And I live in a house, but it's on campus. So, you get to live with your friends in college. And when I go riding pretty much all around here. There's roads and trails right near me. So I don't really have to go far. I don't really have to drive anywhere if I don't need to.
Isn't that cool? So being in a college means that your whole life really is your college life. And like, it's like, what is it like? I was going to say it's like having in a town, but it's so much smaller than that. It's like a complex of buildings, and your friends are there, your teachers are there, your bedroom is there, your learning classrooms are there, the gym is there,
So
and
she
it's all in one
does
campus.
everything.
It's a wonderful place, right, Gabby?
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of like it's a part of your life that you're going to really miss once it's over. It's kind of a fictional place, some might say.
Just a little bit.
No. So I am wondering if you could explain to the girls the value in a pump track for riding and mountain bike skills, because to be honest, I learned how to do a pump track from you, because I felt like your go-to where you grew up biking, whereas we have trails and you crush that. You crushed it.
Yeah.
I was like, how do we do this? So I just love if you could like just speak to that, and how that was really, I think, instrumental in your foundation of skills as a rider, and where they are and what exactly it is, please.
Okay. So that kind of ties into one of the disciplines that I was talking about earlier. It's called dual slalom. So we have a course over here. It's kind of, let's see. So pump track that's a good question. That's a lot of, has to do with a lot of like body mechanics. So the way that you're moving up and down. So it's going to kind of go like this, and you have to move your body accordingly, and you have to use your legs in a certain way, pump down, go up, pump down, go up. And it's really important because, you know, not all trails are almost similar in a way where there's always going to be some sort of obstacle, maybe a log or some rocks, and you want to be able to stay on your bike. So to go over those things, you have to remember what you learn on the pump track, going up and down, and staying on the bike in the same way that you would on a trail, to go over those rocks, over those logs, everything like that. And then again, there's different, like, you know, shoes, the shoes that you wear, you know. I remember Sheree, actually, that was the first time I ever wore clipless shoes where you clip into your into your pedals, and I had no idea what I was doing, and I was like, Sheree was like, yeah, you can use these, and I used them, and it gives you a lot more mobility, which is really cool. But when you're first starting out, you want to stay on the bike and learn all that first. And it's kind of like, we have racing here that's kind of like that too. We have a course, and it turns, and then it goes, turns, and then it goes up and down, and you're going head to head against somebody doing the same exact motions as you. It's really cool. Yeah.
So I just found a YouTube video to show dual slalom. Shall we show it? It's just like a minute or two long, totally. And I think it might be a good thing for the girls to see, since a lot of them won't know pump tracks. So thank you for that reminder, Sheree. Share screen. Do this one. Share. Maximize.
Oh wow. So
you know what? I'm gonna unshare because I'd like to change the resolution. Share sound, optimize. I'm learning every week, girls. I'm learning more. Okay, I'm gonna put this at the beginning. All right, here we go. Here's an introduction to, thanks Max, to dual slalom racing.
Slalom is a race discipline where two racers go head to head. Using a BMX style start gate, the course is packed with berms and jumps, and it's much like slalom skiing. There are two separate lanes that are really similar but not completely identical. The racers race each other once, and the time difference is recorded. They then head back up, swap lanes, and then the combined time from two runs determines the winner. So the slowest rider on the first run is to try and overcome the deficit. This determines the racing order, with the fastest qualifier racing against the slowest in a knockout format until two riders are left, and ultimately the winner is decided. With the racing being so fast and furious and the track being so short, it's really good for spectators. So Marcelo, you're a pro downhill racer. I guess it's totally different because it's head-to-head rather than just against the clock. How does that feel?
The head-to-head thing feels actually scary at some point, because like once you see the guy that it's...
You're just going to forward it back to the racing.
So Johan, you're an enduro racer. What's so fun about dual slalom?
Oh, it's cool. It's the only event I do like that per year. I'm not used...
I don't know, it's all interviews it looks like. But that gives you a good...
The tracks, it's packed, it's jam-packed.
yeah.
Woo! Look, flowers.
So there's what is dual slalom, and it's a really easy thing to get into. Why not just mark out a course on the hillside with your mates? It's so much fun. If you want to see more videos like this, you can click up.
So what do you think? Is that what you do?
Yeah, it's pretty accurate. The bikes are a little bit different. But oh yeah, that's something I forgot to mention. So when you're doing that, there's a start gate. So I don't know if you guys have heard of like a track stand before.
We worked on track stands.
Yeah, it's a really important skill to have. So at the start gate, you're gonna want a track stand. So both of your feet are on your pedals, and you're leaning up against this, you know, maybe a plank of wood or metal or something like that. And then once the person pulls the wood off or whatever, they're different ones, then you guys start at the exact same time and go. And then those gates, the little red and blue flags, kind of are indicators for which side you're on. So like if you cross one of the gates, you get disqualified. You're out of the race because you're not supposed to be on that side. Yeah.
Just trying to find a downhill clip too, which I thought the girls could look at. And I was looking for one of. Do you have one you'd recommend? I was just going to Tani Seagraves. I just follow her on Instagram.
Oh yeah,
I really like her. But
awesome. Yeah, definitely go to her page.
Okay, there's the winning day in the life. Sorry,
Gabby, I have another question for you while Anna's getting that. So I have them in my head, and I'm sure you have them in your head too. What is probably one of the best rides you've ever been on? Like one of those, like you busted out when you're talking to someone about riding, or you're like, I remember the time when. So I'm thinking it's always good, but then sometimes it's horrible too, and you learn something from it. So I'm wondering if you have two moments, one that's like, I remember the time, it was awesome when, or I did this ride once and it was horrible and I learned this from it.
Well, yeah, usually it goes kind of both ways. Like if it's a really good ride, it can also not be so great. But there's actually a race in New York that I had come back for about a year ago. It's the Something Wicked race. Yeah, that was I think that was like that was the longest race I've ever done, or ride for that matter. It was about 6 hours or so. And in Cathedral Pines, I don't know if you guys know where that is, but there's NICA races at Cathedral Pines. So it was really cool going back there, and you're kind of in the box for a hot minute there, which means you know your body's kind of just like, what are you doing? Why are you putting me through this for 6 hours? And then towards the end, it was a lot of fun because you just rode your bike for like half a day. So that was super cool. That's another time where you definitely want to have all your snacks on you, because the longer you're riding, you're going to need all that fuel to get through it, or else you're going to just bonk. That was really fun. There's been a lot of rides over here that are, I don't know, that's the one that's really coming to mind right now. Yeah, that race is super cool. All right.
6 hours of racing. Holy smokes. It's cool how every discipline is it's a different level of a different type of fitness, right? Whether it's a short burst fitness or whether it's long distance endurance fitness. And it's cool that you're able to switch between those disciplines pretty well with the different distances.
It's kind of interesting. It changes. It's fun. It keeps you very occupied too, because since there's so many different disciplines throughout, the fall, winter to spring season, you're kind of on your toes. So like, with fall, you have all your mountain bike stuff. So that's a lot of like endurance and just like going through trails and things like that. And then when cyclocross comes, it's a lot more short outbursts. You're riding through mud. It's totally different terrain, totally different for your body. And then spring, it's those long rides that you kind of just have to get through, and you don't have anything, you don't have dirt or anything that you're getting over. It's just you and the bike and the rest of the people around you, which is super cool.
Ruby and Piper, you had a question. Sorry, I skipped right over you before. You want to unmute yourselves and ask the question?
Your question?
Remember your question, Piper?
What are the different? Oh yeah. What are the different colors of all the bikes that you have?
Ooh. Let's see. So the road bike is black and blue with pink bar tape, and I have a little BMX bike which is like this big. That's a purple bike. That's really fun. The downhill is also blue and black. Let's see. The cyclocross is the same as the road. The cross country is a bright red with a bright blue fork. So a lot of fun color combos there.
What's the fork? The fork is the suspension in front of your bike.
Lily's
Actually,
hand
there's a
is
rear
up,
fork.
I think.
Yeah, but one before you, Lily. Cameron had a question about trails. Do you want to ask your question, Cameron?
What's your favorite trail?
Oh, I don't know any of the trails by you guys, but I would say the trails around here are super fun, you know. I think it's more about them just being like 2 minutes away. I think that's what makes it my favorite. Just bike over. We have a really cool downhill track over here. It's a lot of fun to work on. So yeah. In New York, some of the races that you guys might do in, I don't know, maybe a few years, depending how old you are. Cathedral Pines is really fun. The one I was talking about before. It's just like super fast, super flowy. There's not much to it. You just go really fast, and that's always a lot of fun. So
Where is that, Gabby? Is that in the Catskills?
That's in Long Island. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, I've never ridden down there.
There's another one. Oh, I don't know if they're doing that race anymore, but there was one Gurney something. I don't know.
Yes. Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. There's just like all sorts of stuff going up in there.
That's
those
awesome.
are two good ones.
The girls will hopefully do a day trip up to Gurney Lane this.
Oh
this
yeah, you
weekend.
have.
Yeah, it's just half an hour up the highway for us, so we'll certainly get there.
It's a must.
That's awesome. Lily, the question.
How do you like balance out the like biking and then the schoolwork?
That's a really good question. So basically I go to classes in the morning, so if I go riding, then when I'm going riding in the afternoon, I either right before I go riding, I do, I'll study, or I'll do it afterwards, and then I can do my homework in the nighttime before class, because usually it's not exactly due the next day, it'll be due in like a few days, so you have time to study for your exams and then get all your schoolwork done for the next few days. Yeah.
Good question, Lily. Certainly must be tricky, and I'm sure during your racing seasons you have to prioritize things and reprioritize things and reprioritize and make sure that you're on task for.
Yeah, it's a lot different now with with Corona and everything, because we don't have as much racing, and our collegiate season's gonna get cut short, so we have maybe like 3 races that we got to go to, but since we don't have any racing, there's a lot more time to have all that balance, sort of figure things out.
Yeah, has there been an announcement yet for what's going to happen in the spring for you?
Yeah, we're supposed to have 3 races in between March and April. And then, there's other races too that we can kind of sign up for, but it's just on our own for now. Things are really changed. A lot of, the bike industry and the racing scene has changed a lot since, the pandemic, but, it's no reason not to get on your bike and ride.
Those crowds that you saw in the video we just showed isn't a thing anymore, is it?
Yeah, I mean, maybe with your mask on, probably. I don't think, yeah.
And you also downhill race or ride?
Yeah, I do. Right now, I do. I'm doing all of them.
Okay, so I did find a video of Tani's winning run, one of her winning World Cup runs, and I thought
29, was it? No. Okay, cool.
This one is Canada 2017. Just
cool.
Came out from. And so, girls, this is another discipline that we haven't talked about yet, but this is, again, just another cycling discipline that it's so cool that there are so many different events on 2 wheels that you can do.
Oh, yeah.
This one involves, as you see, full face helmet, full armor. So this girl, who's one of the best mountain bikers, still downhill riders in the world, still currently, right, Gabby? Her name is Tani. She's British. And she has elbow gear. She had her elbow pads and knee pads, and a chest protector as well, because she's going really fast downhill. There's no uphill side of this. This is a downhill sport, over obstacles and jumping over things. And I think you'll find it. It's a great spectator sport too. I think you'll find it fun, but let's just watch a minute of this so you can see what Gabby does. another sport that Gabby does, because pretty much it seems like she does it all. So let's see, this is Tony's run. Mute. Oh, I forgot to do that thing again, which I was supposed to do. I'm supposed to optimize. Oh, it's already all set.
Seagrave now, the winner of round 3 in Leogang, Austria. Can Seagrave get back on the top step today? Second through the technical sections yesterday. Those really the wooded parts of this track. And believe me, they are technical. An aggressive start then for Seagrave. Oh, so 7.7 up then. It's a good run so far. Siegenthaler's 4:59, still some 14 seconds outside that time set by Miriam Nicole in qualifying. But Seagrave, this looks good. Clean, nice lines through the rocks.
Yeah, and you want to choose those nice lines, because if you just plow it through things, you're not going to be able to hold on to your handlebars all the way down. But this looks smooth. Now let's see what she does on the Steve Smith drop.
Probably going to go to the outside. Yes, she does. There is a little bit of a straighter line there. Going to be more difficult to get on that today. And with Manon Carpenter absent. It's down to this woman and Rachel Atherton. So she extends again to hold up the flag for the UK. 10 seconds nearly there. 9.2 into the green.
Now coming into that section where she was second fastest yesterday through the technical section here. Let's see if she is attacking as hard as Emily. Oh yes, she is.
Front wheel getting a bit wayward there. Seagrave keeping it together though. On the down transition, TR11, a new production bike. She's been on the prototype until this point. Well, took some risks in there, I'd say, and got away with them. Good riding from Seagrave through there. Not off the podium here, actually, in the last 3 years. And it's called the TR11 with the from a reference from the Spinal Tap movie where everything goes to 11. Did like that, I must admit. So, Cabaroo, let's hope she sees Seagrave coming and doesn't get in her way. Saw her going out of shot there. It's over 10 seconds now. Yes, she has. So Seagrave on a run here. Her first World Cup win earlier this season. 2013 Junior World Champion Seagrave now coming down towards the line. Surely she's going to set the fastest time of the day. She likes the big jumps. Here comes Seagrave. She goes fastest by 12.75. Well, with just
Seriously, that's what you do.
I mean, they're going, those are the pros, and they're going, you know, definitely like a lot faster, but yeah, it's so much fun.
As well. And I love how when someone asks what your favorite is right now, you were saying road biking too. Like the fact that that's such an extreme to go from road biking to downhill racing is just, there's such a different set of skills that you're learning in each of those. And I've always said, you know, just get on as many different bikes on the same trails or as many different trails on the same bike as you can to improve your bike handling skills. And I can imagine, as Sheree has been saying, that your skills just must be phenomenal because of all of this riding and different disciplines. That is really cool to see.
Well, I mean, definitely, you know, when you start racing and stuff, it's just, you know, that's when NICA was definitely a big part of, you know, how I was growing up and, you know, how I got into biking and all of that and racing. And once you kind of have, you know, that feeling for racing and you understand like all the different parts of it, you get really attached to it. So like, you know, whatever season it is, like right now it's road season and there's racing coming up, you know, you're going to get super stoked about that. Same thing in NICA, like, you know, there's a weekend coming up and you're going to go with your family and all your friends and you're going to go ride your bikes with everybody. I mean, there's nothing better than that, you know.
Oh, I love that. Have you always been a super competitive person in general, even before you started racing mountain bikes?
I'm not really sure about that. Maybe in high school, I guess I was pretty competitive with, you know, especially with running and stuff. And it kind of just, having two different sports is always a lot of fun because you got all sorts of different things on your mind, two different races going on, and you're just thinking about going the whole time. So yeah, I mean, it kind of just racing will bring the competitiveness out of you, and you'll also see how much fun it is. So there's like two different sides to it that are completely great and different all at the same time.
And I feel like mountain biking is, or maybe specifically NICA, is so welcoming in that way that you can choose whether you want to race or not, right? And with the grit program that Dee runs, and it's just such a cool and unique thing in the sport of cycling to have that ability to choose. And I love, Shredders is like that, right? Like we are all about just getting girls on bikes, whether they want to continue and go to a race team, that's great, but they don't have to do that. And it's really nice to, in this day and age of such competitive sports and being pigeonholed kind of at such a young age into one specific sport. And, I was talking to a friend earlier today about that and how, if you miss one practice as an 8-year-old playing soccer, you can't play in the tournaments that weekend, which is ridiculous. Like that, it's just, they're 8. And so to be able to have mountain biking kind of be the opposite of that and be so welcoming to all kids at all levels is really cool.
Yeah. I mean, there's like the big motto of like in biking, which is like super true, but it's, there's no bench warmers, whereas different other team sports, there's, always going to be someone on the bench. So, I mean, with riding, you're going to race or you're not going to race and you're still going to have a great time because you're still riding, So, and then with grit.
I've never heard that term before. There's no bench warmers. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's a lot more people coming in with grit too, a lot more girls. So hopefully by next season.
Yeah, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about grit specifically. And was grit around when you were a high school student, or was it more after you graduated?
I would have to ask Dee, but I think maybe my junior or senior year, and then I became like ambassador. But so Dolores pretty much had taken over that part of the New York chapter for grit, girls riding together, and it's just about girls riding together, everyone getting a lot more females in the sport because it has obviously, like other sports, it's been pretty male dominated for a while. And you just watch the video of Tanny Seagrave just absolutely killing it. So you can get to that next level, and I guess that's kind of the point of it, is bring girls in to see there's a sport that you can do and you can be included in, and there's no shame in that. Everybody's doing it and everybody's doing it together, and it's pretty cool to see. So
Dolores, did you want to add anything to that? I'd love to have you speak a little bit
about
it.
Sure. Now I'm sweating and nervous. It's great. It's just a way that we get all girls from all over New York, and it's all over the country, by the way. And we do things via Zoom or on the bikes, and we just hang out and, we bike ride, we do some skills, we play some games. We started to do some, bike maintenance so girls can just learn how to do it on their own. And it's growing, and it's just fun to hang out with a bunch of girls and ride your bike, or not. Like, you can do whatever. It's fun.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And I think a really good final question could come from Ruby and Piper. Again, I'm not sure. Oh, from Piper. Piper, you have a question. I think that would be a really good question to end on. Could you ask your question, please?
What's your favorite part of biking?
Oh my goodness. There's so many good parts. I think honestly just hanging out with my friends and knowing there's always people that you can go with, because it's a really big community, and there's a lot of people that you meet along the way that'll just kind of stay in your life and always be there, and there's so much to learn all the time. So it's not all about the riding and the racing, although that's the most fun part. It's also you meet a ton of friends and people who know more than you, and you just learn the entire time, which is really cool. That's definitely my favorite part.
That's awesome. Well, in that vein, it's just been an absolute honor and pleasure to meet you. And you are now part of our little happy circle community of girls on bikes in Saratoga. So you're always welcome up here if you're visiting home and want to make the 3.5-hour drive north. We would love to have you join our group anytime. And we wish you all the best for your spring season and your trainer season indoors right now. And your college years, and we'll be following you and rooting for you along the way. So thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Take care,
Thanks,
Gabby.
Gabby.
Thanks everyone for joining.
If you leave, everyone leaves.